Good evening, everybody. Greg Koch here with 605 Running Company, coming to you from my home office. And yes, I'm sitting on the floor, just the way that I'm rolling this evening. But I wanted to jump in here and give some updates of what I've got going on here at the store. As you know, things continue to change week by week, hour by hour, minute by minute. Our plan at 605 Running Company is to open June 1st, and now that's a very fluid date, but that's what our target is. Now, I know that there's, some businesses are opening up. Like, we've never been told to close. This has all been my decision in terms of how we've handled our response to COVID-19, and that's where this process continues to be. And in a way, that's freeing, and in other ways, that's a challenge, and a little bit frustrating, if I'm being completely honest. But that's okay. We're happy with our plan that we have in place. So June 1st is our target date. I want to give you some ideas of what that's going to look like when June 1st gets here. Our request that everyone wear a mask when they come to the store. That's been our request for our one-on-one fittings. When we open the store, that's going to be the same thing. Now, I've got a lot of masks that I've been able to procure. So if you don't have a mask when you arrive, that's okay. We'll have a mask for you. And again, it's a request, not a requirement, but a request, and that is to keep all of our staff safe in terms of how this disease spreads, and how or this virus, how it spreads, and what's happening. Now, again, I'm just a guy trying to make the best decisions possible. So like I said, at each door we're going to have a hand sanitizer station, and we'll have masks available if you don't have your own mask that you can use while you're shopping with us. Now, fitting rooms, that's been one of the big things that we've been working through, and how a fitting room works in a retail setting, and in our store in particular. So our fitting room, if you try on any clothes, what we're going to do is anything you try on is going to go on a rack, and then we will be steam cleaning all of those items and sanitizing them that way. So everything will get a steam clean before it goes back out onto the floor. And, we've always had a set number of how many items you can try on in a dressing room, so we'll continue to do that. When we do reopen on June 1st, the idea is that we're going to have no more than 10 people in the store to start out with and see how it goes. Now, that 10 people will include our staff number, and so we will monitor that number as we go. Our space is large but small. As you know, if you've been down to the store, it's a unique space, and we try to maximize our space, but we're also going to try to manage our numbers as we go through this experience. And I appreciate all of your attention to details as I'm laying this out there, and how it's going to work. Finally, at cash out, at the point of sale, when we're closing a sale, every time our credit card machine is used, we are wiping it down with Clorox wipes. Every single time. That's not going to change. So that's what we've been doing with one-on-one fittings. If you've been to a one-on-one fitting, you know what that looks like and how that goes. That stays the same. We're going to continue to keep that space clean. If you try shoes on, we do use the Lysol disinfectant spray on the shoes and let those dry before we rebox them, and so that doesn't change either. We're going to continue to keep the store as clean as possible. We continue to clean all hard surfaces, and we'll continue to do that. We also mop every single night. So from our end, that's what it's going to look like at the store. And then finally, we will have one final hand sanitizing station at the point of sale as well. I don't think I mentioned that. So that's where we're at as a shop. June 1st is our target date. Now, I know we could be open right now. I could unlock the door and have it be a free-for-all. I'm not comfortable with that, and I don't think most of our customers are comfortable with that idea either. So what's driving me to June 1st to not Friday, when a lot of businesses are going to open up, is I want to see how this goes. I am by no means an expert, and trying to make the best decisions as we can, so we want to give it some time. We obviously have been impacted like every other business has been impacted. it's been a challenge, but thankfully my team is strong and dedicated, and we've continued to craft a plan and stick to it as we've gone through this. So that's not going to change. And while it's a struggle, I appreciate every single one of you that have taken advantage of our online store and used the resources that we have available, and with curbside pickup or shipping. And to the folks that have come in for those one-on-one fittings, you've been more than gracious with our space, as our space has been turned a little bit upside down as we've created, a shipping zone, and we've got different things happening. We've had a lot of projects going on at the store, so it doesn't look exactly like it always has. And everyone that's come in has been very gracious with their time and their willingness to work with us as we go through this. So I appreciate that, and none of that changes. Yeah, that's what I got for tonight. Now, I promised some interviews and some things like that, and so today I was able to catch up with Coach Jacqui, and I've got a interview with her that I'm going to play and let you guys check it out. She's got a wealth of knowledge, and we had a great conversation earlier today. So enjoy Coach Jacqui, and then I'll check back in with you when the interview is done. My guest today is Coach Jacqui Meadors. Jacqui has been with us at the store for quite a while, but she also is a graduate of the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. She's coached every level, from middle school to high school, and all sorts of athletes here in town. Jacqui, welcome, and thanks for jumping on. We decided to do this literally in the last 15 minutes, so I appreciate your flexibility. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Home, happy, and staying safe. So those are the main things right now, right?
100%, 100%. So the reason I wanted to talk to you today, Coach, is I, as you well know, because you are my coach personally, have been struggling with training and with stress. So tell me a little bit about that. Give me some of your best tips and tricks when the stress level goes up and you still want to maintain training. What are some things we should be looking for? What should we consider as we go through this all together?
Yeah, I think you have to keep it in perspective. And it's always been my philosophy that a running is part of who you are, but it's not the only thing you do, or it's not the only thing that defines you, right? We love running, and it definitely is part of us. So even though I think right now things are more stressful, even if we don't recognize that stress, I think we're all under a little bit of different stress right now, whether that's with work, family, even just internally, even those of us that are able to stay, home and isolated or home and work, there's still stress that goes along with that. And I think you have to, again, keep that in perspective. It's not unlike pre-COVID times. People still had stress. It's just that this is maybe more elevated and more on a day-to-day basis, whereas in the past, we probably had a little bit of relief from that stress. So I think, to answer your question, to keep ourselves training and moving forward, we have to take those factors into consideration. And if that means that one night we need to get a little bit of extra rest, we need to do that, because we're not going to be able to go out and run and feel healthy mentally or physically if we're just making ourselves do something that's not enjoyable. So we have to keep that in mind. And so if we've had a stressful day at work, or we have a family member that is needing us to be at home at a certain time, we need to do that. We need to be okay making those adjustments. And so we need to keep in mind, Greg, I think training our bodies is just as significant right now as training our minds. And we have to mentally take care of ourselves, or we have to have somebody, a training partner or a coach, somebody that's looking out for us to say, hey, that's okay that you didn't get this part of the run in. And understand that that's not an excuse right now. That's reality. And we know ourselves if we're making an excuse to not run, or if we have a valid reason not to run. I was reading some literature actually just the other day that was talking about the implications of doing hard workouts causing more stress on your body is more detrimental right now for most people. And so it is just more important to kind of have a balance. And that's where, again, I go back to my philosophy of, I've always lived this way. It's a part of who we are. It's not everything we are. So if we can we, meaning you personally, can keep that in perspective, I think that your training physically, mentally, emotionally, you'll actually be better off in your kind of training.
Excellent. You're such a wealth of knowledge. That's good stuff, Coach. Right off the bat. Way to go. Um, so I've made the financial commitment to sign up for a race, and I've been training, and then
Yes.
my event has been either turned into a virtual race or has been canceled outright. What do I do?
Yeah. Well, before you decide anything, you just have to think to yourself, what was my motive for this race? Before it was virtual, what was my motive? Was my motive to run a race just to run it? Was my motive to run a race to try to do the best that I can do with where I'm at? Was it somewhere I was going to travel to? Was more like a vacation? So the first thing you have to do is you have to think to yourself, what was that? Because that's going to be your driving force on where you go from there. We all know that there's a financial kind of investment when we sign up for races. And we also understand that race directors and sponsors put a lot of work into their races, and they don't want them to just be virtual either. They want people there. They want to celebrate. And so it's not realistic to ask for your money back or be upset about not getting your money back, because those directors, those sponsors have put in a lot of effort. And I've had 3 races already been virtual, and I understand that's hard. That's hard that you're like, oh man, I wish I would have, been able to get my money back. But we can't live like that. We have to move forward, and we have to take what we have. So let's, as best we can, take that piece out of it, right? Because at some point you sign up for the race to make an investment in yourself. So virtual or not, let's invest in ourselves. So then you pick those 3 or 4 areas that I was talking about. If your goal was just to run it, great. If you're feeling comfortable, find a friend or 2, get out there and run it. Pick the day, pick the time, enjoy it. Go out there and just run, and set out a water bottle or have your friend ride your bike and get your nutrition out there and set the course that you want to run. Go run. If your race was for a vacation, I'm sorry, that's tough and that's hard. I can take that from personal experience. I'm supposed to be out in Colorado to see my brother, and we just can't do that. So then I have to think, okay, then what would be a different goal? So then if the other goal is like, hey, I want to go and race this, then you have to live like that in your mind. And that's like mental training. Then what you need to do is you need to probably race the day you were going to race, at the time you were going to race, give or take, and live your life like that. So the day before, the 2 days before, you're going to start your hydration, your nutrition, your mental plan. And then you go out and race it. And you race a course that maybe is similar if you're living in the city and you can run the course, run it. And so I think that's what you need to do when you're signing up for virtual races. And if you're going to sign up for a race, in the next X number of months, I just think you need to have that in your mind that there may be some things that are altering, and that's okay. We still can run.
Good. Such good stuff. Kyle, you're spot on today. I really like that, make it as close to real as you can. I got to experience this with you here recently as you skedaddled. Tell me a little bit about your skedaddle experience.
Yeah, so I'll be super transparent and honest, because I had really set out for the skedaddle to be my A race for this year, and had told just a few people about it because I was a little nervous because it was the first race back for me from having a baby a little while ago, almost a year ago. So this was my first race back, and I was so excited. And, I did teeter in my mind. I was like, do I want to race it? Do I not want to race it? But that goes back to the question we talked about earlier. I wanted to race it. I trained to race it. I was able to put in the work to race it. And so that's what I wanted to do. For me, I did take my advice that I just talked to you about a minute ago. I was able to race the same weekend. I did not race the same course, but I picked one that I thought was close for 2 reasons. One was convenience for me, and I'm okay saying that. I think other people need to be okay that, sometimes I want to start from my house, or I want to start where my friends can help me. So I made a text message to you and our other training buddy, Jeremy, and I have a really awesome group of friends that I haven't been running with, and that's just a personal choice. I've really chosen to be distant, except for maybe two people. I had a buddy reach out to me, and he was like, "Hey, are you looking for somebody to set you up?" And he's been a buddy of mine for a long time. His name is Adam. I said, "Yeah, let's do it." But that really got my mindset going, and I knew from that whatever day, Thursday or whatever, I knew that I was going to be ready to go. And then I really had to think about, what I was putting into my body. I was really lucky because shout out to you, Greg. I had you for my nutrition and my hydration, which is critical. If you're going to run a race, you're going to have aid stations. With a virtual race, we don't have that. So you have to plan ahead. And my plan ahead was having you, hey, Flip Flop Rolls, as my coach, who said, hey, here's when we're drinking, here's your nutrition. But that's something you do really need to consider when you're doing that. And so then, yeah, I kept my mind in the game, and I knew going to bed what I was waking up to do. And man, things came together for us. And I don't go that alone. I go that with my friends, which is amazing. And would I have loved to seen that on a race day? Yeah, you bet. But I did. I saw it on a race day. It was our race day. And it's certainly something I will always remember. I don't have to journal about it, even though I did, because it's just one of those runs you think to yourself, oh, remember when? So it's kind of cool, right?
Absolutely it is. And I know that you're going to be modest and you're not going to brag about yourself too much, but your race time was absolutely unbelievable. It was a really cool experience for me to be a part of. And if you've never had the chance to bike with a friend that is running, even if it's a training run or something, I highly recommend it. It's one of my all-time favorite things to do. Obviously, I've gotten to do it with you, but I've also done it with Coach Benson, and I did it with Grant, and I've done it with a few other people in the past, and I've had a few people bike with me as well.
Yeah.
It really creates a unique camaraderie, and I highly encourage it. So even, if you're out there and you have friends that are getting ready for a virtual race, help them out. This is the time where we can still really connect and make sure you're connecting with your running friends beyond the, hey, how are you? Go that next step, go a little further.
For sure.
Yeah. Tell me, so this is one thing. Now, I know you, in your race experience, you had the ultimate distraction, so you didn't have to think about this at this point in the race, because I fell on my bike, which was comical to say the least. So
No, it wasn't.
I was embarrassed, but it was right around that kind of mile 8, mile 9. There's always that point in a race where it starts to get hard, no matter, if it's a downhill course, if it's a flat course, if it's a flat spot. I feel like I, subliminally was some sort of major distraction so that you couldn't think about being tired, because I fell on my bike. So it totally threw your mind out the window on what was going on. I was fine. And it was my own error for falling on my bike going, I don't know, I don't know how it happened, but anyway, talk me through that point, because we've all been there in a race. How do you get through that point? Kind of mile. For me, it's always like mile 8 and beyond in a half marathon, or mile 20 in the marathon. How do you take that next step, Coach?
Yeah, right. So that does happen. And actually that happens, I don't think people think about this, Greg, but that happens to even people like in a 5K, right? Because they are racing at this maximum speed for a shorter amount of time. But there's still like this mental game, even in a 5K, right? Or even, like in a mile. But certainly as you go to the half and the full. And there was actually 2 points on the run where I was like, oh man, we got to keep it going. Like you got to get back in it. And I'm closing my eyes now because that's what I do when I run, which is maybe or maybe not safe. But like I just need a minute to close my eyes. That helps me mentally refocus. So about that time, I think it was like you said, miles 8 or 9, because I remember where it was. And I remember thinking, like, I heard something, but I didn't know if I heard anything, because I was really in race mode at that point, because I knew I had not much left, and I knew not much in distance, but I knew I had a lot left that I had to give to work there. And so it was almost like a race day where you're like, I don't know which way I'm supposed to turn on the course, or I don't know where my next thing is. I thought I heard something, but it wasn't for sure. But because I had a couple other buddies, we all looked back and saw you there on the ground. And here's the other thing that's so cool. All of us, even though you were like, just go, just go, just go, just go. There's nothing more important to me than a friend. And there's nothing more important to me in life than, and I do not mean to sound cliche, this is authentically me. There is nothing more important to me than the people that I surround myself with. And I will never put a race time in front of my friend's health. Not that Greg had a huge, scary break arm fall, but once we turned to see you on the ground, I was like, and it was, Greg, it was a great little like stop. So we stopped, made sure you were okay. And even my buddy next to me was like, okay, you guys get going and I'll stay with Greg. And we were all like, no, we're cool. We're going to stop. And I think, Greg, it was probably a matter of, I looked at my running watch time, like 4 seconds or something, right? I mean,
Yeah.
And so it's like, there again, it's just like, it just, nothing would ever make me not stop. Of course I'm going to stop. And then at the end of the day, I was like, okay, now we got to get back going. Like it was so instantaneous, Greg, like from your fall to your get up to us going, it was all a matter of 4 seconds.
Yeah.
And I was kind of a cool mind distraction. I was like, okay, he's okay. And then I had like a half mile to make sure you were okay in my brain. So that burned another half mile. And then all of a sudden here you are in front of us and we just cruised right along. And then like I was back in the zone. And so a little distraction, but actually a really good distraction. And probably other people are probably not going to have that same experience in their virtual race.
I hope not.
Maybe a stopped car or maybe, somebody who's, has to stop for an ambulance or a fire truck or, whatever the case may be. Unless you're really running on a course where you're never going to have anything, you're going to have some sort of distraction. And so use that to your advantage. Don't let it consume you because then you can fall off pace if you're running for pace. You got to keep your mind in the game. But it's just like a regular race. If you see people out and about, you're going to maybe look to the streets or look for the cheering zones, and then you get your head back in the game and run.
Absolutely. And as someone that prides themselves as being like an expert cyclist in terms of in this setting, it was super embarrassing. I really wish all of you could have had a video of it. So we'll have to rehash that some other time, but truly a great memory in any capacity that you look at it. But we're running out of time here, Coach. Our time's almost up for this interview, but I want you to leave us with your final message. Your message of hope is what I'm looking for here as we go through these wild times, and it looks like things are going to slowly start to reopen, and maybe there's going to be a new normal out there. Give me your message of hope and your message to our running audience as we go forward.
Yeah, there is a sense of hope, and I guess my message is, my message would be, the best thing I can do is share what my personal message is to you and the audience is, there is a sense of hope and there is a sense of optimism, and there's a real kind of newfound interest in people connecting in many different ways. I think the most important thing that I would say to people is take it day to day. And if you can't take it day to day, you take it hour to hour. And if you can't take it hour to hour, you go minute to minute. And you know what, Greg, that's just like what I talked about in the beginning of this. That's kind of even my message pre-COVID is something I've always lived by is like, I can only control what I can control, and I can look for the best things that I can look for in life. And that doesn't mean I'm not going to have down days. I'm human. Our audience is human. You're going to have some down days or day or weeks. That's okay. You're a human, but just know that there's so many resources out there for you, for us as runners. I'll even go on record and say, hey, maybe get out and try the trails if you want, right? Or try running at a different time of the day. If that's just try something out there. But the message is this: get out, enjoy, put one foot in front of the other, wash your hands, and be good to yourself. Be your best cheerleader.
Awesome. And I know a few people that are gonna hold you to that. You put it on record. you said that magic word, trails. So maybe we'll have a follow up where we go for a little trail run, and then you can tell us, if your mind has changed on trail running afterwards.
I'll let you know.
Okay, that's our time today, Coach. Thanks for joining me, and we'll
You
catch
bet.
up again very soon.
Yeah, great to see you. Thanks, everybody at 6:05.
There's my first technical error. So it's bound to happen. Trust me. So that's Coach Jacqui. She truly is incredible. All of our coaches on staff are truly remarkable. And one of the best parts about what they do is they're so much more invested in their athletes than just the time on the watch or the result at the race. It is so much more than that, and that's something that maybe we have lost a little bit in this in terms of our messaging as a company. Our private coaching is just as important as the retail side of our business, because our whole reason for being in business is about creating a community of wellness surrounded by running. And Coach really embodies everything that we're about, and she had some great advice there. Jackie and I could probably talk for hours on end, and so I had to set a timer on our interview this evening and make sure that we tried to stay focused, but at the same time we decided to do that within like 5 minutes of texting back and forth, because that's just how we operate. So it's something that we've wanted to do, but finally pulled the trigger and just did it. And so she's like, yeah, I have the baby's asleep, the girls are reading books, let's do it now. And so we did it, and that's just sort of the way we roll. We'll have to have her back on. I guarantee you we'll have more follow-up interviews with Coach Jacqui. And so with that in mind, if you have questions for Coach Jacqui, you can, about private coaching, you can email her at jackie@run605.com. Or if you have questions that you want the two of us to hash out in a follow-up interview, put those in the comments below on the feed here, and we'll address those at some other time. But I also plan to have more guests on as well. I think I'll try to do this maybe Monday nights. This seems to work well. If I can get the interview handled, I can do the interview either live or I can pre-record it. I'm comfortable doing both, but I need to know who you want to see. So Coach Jacqui is obviously a really, really good friend of mine, and that was a natural first interview. But I am willing to bring anyone that our community is interested in hearing from on this spot here. But yeah, that's what I've got for tonight. I appreciate you all for watching, and be sure to do a couple of things for me so you're totally in the loop, because not all of you that see this are going to be on YouTube. So first of all, if you're on our YouTube channel, like and subscribe. I would appreciate that. But also, make sure you subscribe to our email list. Now, I've been a pretty prolific blogger for the store over the last couple of years, and my blogging has slowed down here, just because we've got so much going on. But I have been sending out an email message that is similar to the blog, so a weekly message. So make sure you're subscribed to our email, and you'll get that message along with other important updates, links to videos like this and our shoe talks. I've been doing a web series with the cookie jar. My parents' store, the cookie jar. We've been cooking a bunch of food in the kitchen, and so that's been a lot of fun as well. So lots of great content that you can get through email from us, or here on our YouTube channel, or also on our social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We're connected to all of it. So, and that's how one of the things that's gotten us through this is our ability to be so dialed in. So basically, there's a good chance on one of those platforms a majority of our audience is available. So please check that all out. That's all I got tonight. I appreciate all of you, and until next time, we'll catch up later. Bye.